Hello, world, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Little Bit Different podcast with your host, Corey Sterling. This podcast is presented by our corporate sponsor, Conscious Counsel. I'm really excited for this week's episode, and the impetus to record this episode came from listening to another podcast. I was listening on that podcast, and the guest was a coach. The coach was using a really interesting frame to talk about something. Things that aren't working in people's lives. Let's say you're 20 pounds overweight. There was probably some decision in the past where you made a really, really small decision that actually compounded, and over time, that's what has led to you being 20 pounds overweight today. Or it could be being broke, or it could be with anything that's not working in your life. And I was walking in the park with my dog Gringo, because now I'm here in Ceará in Brazil, kite surfing. That's such an interesting way to look at it. Like, oh, there's probably one decision that you made a while back that leads to all of these things that aren't working for you in your life. But I'm a positive guy and I want to share the positive vibes. And I was like, well, instead of me framing this in a negative way and in a pain point way about all the things that aren't working, I started to think about the things that are working in my life and the things that are serving me. And then I started thinking about what is the one decision that I made in those different areas of my life to have the lifestyle that I have now, to have the outlook that I have now, to have the finances that I have now, to have the health and the physical body that I have now, to have the business that I have now. And I was like, that seems like a way more fun podcast to record for the community. So today's episode, it's called The Decision. I don't know if you guys remember when LeBron James was choosing what basketball team he was going to go to, and he called it The Decision, and he put it on primetime television. And I'm not on primetime television, but I'm here, and the title of the episode is The Decision, and the intention of this episode is to go through 5 different areas of my life and looking back at what is the single decision that I made in each of these different areas that has led me to feel fulfilled or proud or moving in the right direction in these particular areas. So the 5 areas that I've chosen are fitness, business, travel, spirituality, and finance. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump in. My intention for this is like, if you get one small itty bitty takeaway where you're like, yes, Corey, that's it. And that helps you and puts you on the path towards being the person who you want to be and living your deliberate dream life, then it's all worth it. The first decision in the first area, we're going to start with fitness. These areas are not going in any particular order. And there was one decision that I made in fitness that changed the course of my life. And that decision was to work with a personal trainer 5 times a week. And I made that decision in 2020. And it was just something that at the time, I didn't really have money. I didn't have that much money. It was an incredibly outrageous expense compared to everything else in my life. But, and I may reference this quote more than once today, but I'm going to reference it here. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So nothing changes if nothing changes. I always wanted to have a 6-pack. I always wanted to be at 10% body fat. I had these things for years and years and years that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it one day. I'm going to figure it out. And I'm a blah, 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 blah. A lot of blah, 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 as you can tell. And then I just decided that I was going to do something different than I had been doing. I was going to change something in my life. And my commitment was for that time to work with a personal trainer 5 times a week. Now, is it an exorbitant expense? Yes. Did it cost me a lot of money? Yes. Could I have spent that money doing other things? Yes. However, by working with a personal trainer 5 times a week for 1 whole year, I completely transformed my body. But way more importantly, I completely transformed my habits. And way more importantly, I completely transformed my personal competency and ability to go to the gym at least 5 times a week, every single week. And since I've started doing this, I've never gone less than 5 times a week if I've been in a place that has a gym. Sometimes, I don't know if you remember the podcast I shot when I was in Ghana. Okay, I'm in a place, there's not really a gym, I can't do it, whatever, besides the point. But the return on investment for what that initial investment of working 5 times a week for 1 year with a personal trainer was for me, it's like now it's absolutely minuscule. The return on investment is so high, and that cost based on what I'm able to do and how I'm able to feel and how I'm able to perform, and the fact that I'm 38 years old, almost turning 39, and that I'm in the best physical shape of my life, all of that comes back to that single decision to just buy in and be like, cool, I'm going 1 year, 5 times a week. I have a lot of friends who have done similar things who also are in the midst of their transformation or have transformed as well. So maybe if 5 times a week is extreme, you could do something like work with a trainer 3 times a week for 3 months. But if you want to take care of your body, for me, our body is the vessel. If you want to take care of your body and you want to become that person who you've always wanted to be, consistency and working with a coach in the area of physical health and wellness is the way to do it. I will just add a second piece for a decision that also has been fundamental. And this is the only one where I have like a 1A and 1B, but really it's just one where it's like work with a personal trainer. If you want to stretch better, work with a Pilates coach or a yoga teacher. If you want to lift heavy weights, go to CrossFit, work one-on-one, just like work with someone directly, get the attention that you need, build the habit, build the lifestyle, and then everything takes care of itself. The other 1B piece of information that's really important for this is this is Chia Sonia, by the way, and everyone who's watching on YouTube. She cooks food in my house, and she's a part of my family, and she's lovely. The other piece is not drinking alcohol. So the decision to stop drinking alcohol was something that was so fundamental and so important for me that has led to all of the benefits, the health benefits, the transformation, the physical transformation, the mental transformation. They go alongside, but there was a point where I was lifting 5 times a week and still drinking alcohol, and I was seeing those gains and I was making that progress. So the first decision around fitness, again, it doesn't have to be lifting weights. If you love rowing, it would be working with a rowing coach and going 5 times a week. Whatever you do, set a short window period of time where you go 5 times a week and work with someone who's better than you so they can transfer the skills. And more importantly, you can develop the habit of doing that particular thing. So for fitness, the one decision that I made that changed everything, work with a trainer 5 times a week, stop drinking booze. It was expensive, it was difficult, it forced me to do something different, but if nothing changes, and something changed, and now things are changing. Now, the next area that I want to talk about is business. So, what was the one decision that I made in my business and for my business that by making that decision opened everything up for me and created so many possibilities? It was to automate my business, focus on automating my business, and putting systems and processes in place for my business. Okay? Sounds really simple. It sounds really basic. For someone who is all over the place and a little bit disorganized and definitely creative, like me, doing things like systems and automations is not my first mindset. It's not what I'm thinking about. I don't wake up thinking about systems and processes. But essentially what happened was I was working with a coach, and my coach was like, look, if you want to grow and continue to have freedom and have a lifestyle that you love, you need to build systems and processes, and you need to automate. And the first thing I did was bring on an amazing team member whose name is Sabine, who basically, she's head of automations and systems and processes. As much as on the spectrum, as much as I don't like systems and processes and automation, Sabine loves them. Like processes is actually her favorite word. Like she loves when we're on a team call and anyone uses the word process, she gets very, very happy. And there was a lot of resistance for me to adopt and follow these changes. But I did, and the entire transformation took 2 years of going from like a fly by the seat of your pants business to having automations and systems and processes. And by virtue of doing that, I'll share a couple of things today that are reflective of that decision, even though they don't seem directly correlated. So previously, last month, I was in Caraíva in Brazil, and we had the busiest and the most sales week in Conscious Counsel history. During that week, it was also a festival here in Brazil called Juninha, Festa Juninha, and I was out until 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, almost every single day of the week with my friends, having fun, dancing, chilling, doing what I want. I'd wake up, I would take a couple sales calls, but because the systems and automations of our business were in place, our ability to grow did not impede on my personal freedom or my personal time or what I'm doing. And in the same way, last month was the best month we've had in 3 years with Conscious Counsel. And I did not work, and I worked way less than I just didn't work that much. And so for me, a great example of how the business is progressing is that we're able to scale in the sense that we can bring on more clients and take more work and bring in more revenue. And for me, Corey, as the CEO and founder, I still have absolute complete freedom. I still take Fridays off. I'm still building other projects and focusing on other businesses. Like, there's no correlation between how busy we are and what my schedule and my free time looks like. So the only way that I got there was with buying into a mentality of systems and processes. The other thing that I'll share, which is really crazy, is when it comes to hiring team members, it's like what used to take, honestly, like it used to be like, okay, we need to hire someone. It used to be like a 3-month search until we find the person and get the person and interview them. And if we're offboarding someone else who is in the role, now the entire business just operates in the sense where it's like, we can hire and onboard anyone in like a couple of hours, like 3 hours. And if I realize that there's a personnel change that needs to be made, no matter how pivotal of a role it is, which even could hypothetically be for my role, it used to take months to get everything on track and be prepared. And now, honestly, it's hours. It's like 3 hours, have a team call. Hey, this is who we're bringing on. This is how we need to prepare them to succeed. So what's the decision that led me to have the time freedom and the ease freedom and the love of my job? What keeps me loving my job? The systems and processes and automations that I put in place. Again, it's not a natural position. I don't wake up thinking, oh, I love systems and automations and processes, but it is something that I have bought into, and the dividends pay itself in front of my eyes every single day. I can have the busiest week of the history of my business. I can have one of the busiest months that we've ever had, and I'm still doing whatever I want, whenever I want, all the time. So that's been a major, major big takeaway for me. The next area that I want to talk about in terms of a decision I made that led me to leading this life that I love and in a way that's really, really working for me has been, and this falls under the area of travel. And that is the decision that I had to live this particular lifestyle and to give myself permission to live this type of lifestyle was the one decision that I needed to make all of it happen. And maybe you're hearing that and you're like, oh, that doesn't really sound so radical, or that doesn't sound so strange. But just to take you back, before Conscious Counsel was really successful and able to sponsor podcasts like this podcast, as an example, and before I was able to be a lawyer who was running my business online from anywhere in the world, I was miserable. 3 words, I was miserable. So I've spoken in many different episodes about how much I did not like living a corporate life or being chained to a desk and not being able to do that. And the greatest decision that I made was that when I was going for it, I was going to go for it 100%. And I didn't go for it 50%. Going for 50% would be like, oh, you know what? I'll have a base in Vancouver and I'll stay there and I'll go into the office. And then, every 3 weeks I'll go to a particular place. And like, if someone wants to do that, that's perfect, so long as that's what you want to do. But the best decision I ever made when it came to my lifestyle and travel was like, I'm going for it and I don't care what anyone says. And I've always been able to check in with myself to make sure that I am living the way that I want to live, that I am doing things the way that I want to do, and that I am traveling the way that I want to travel. And that's evolved over time. When I started, I was in the back of the plane, sleeping in a 16-bed dorm room. Now I'm at the front of the plane and I'm staying at nice hotels and whatever. That's who I am today. That's what I like, and I won't be apologetic for liking that. I will say just one thing as an aside, just to throw it in because I'm talking about it. I was just as happy at the back of the plane in 16-bed dorm rooms as I am right now. Like, there's no correlation between doing those things and happiness. I was just like, for me, when I started, I couldn't believe that I was getting on a plane to go to Copenhagen, and I was going to open my laptop when I landed, and I was going to operate this virtual office in 2017. I couldn't believe it. And now I'm here in Brazil. Somehow I know how to kite surf. There's an amazing woman who makes juices and food for me every day. And I'm speaking Portuguese. Like, I didn't know that any of that stuff would happen. All of that happened because I gave myself permission with my lifestyle. And I decided, like, no matter what, I'm going to travel. And no matter what, I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, however I want, with whoever I want. That's always been the commitment. And I love traveling. I'm not tired of it. Now I've rented a home here in Praia for 5 months after having circumvented the globe and been in a lot of places in a short period of time. And also, like, yesterday I was checking out flights to Suriname, and just because I felt like it and because I want to. But just to bring this in and clarify the point, the decision to live a traveling nomadic lifestyle and going for it 100% was the best decision that I ever made in my life. It opened up the door for all of the experiences. I always have permission. Remember, anything that you do in your life, you always have permission to change. You always have permission for what you want to change. And the goal for everyone is to live in a position of freedom in your life, that you have the ability to pivot and choose. And ideally, if you're in financial freedom, you have the opportunity to choose where you go, what you do, when you do, how you do it. But for me, the decision to be committed to living a nomadic life 100% and designing and reverse engineering my entire life around that was the fundamental decision that enabled and empowered everything else. And like, that's what has led me loving my life to such a degree that I love it right now. The next decision that I want to talk about falls in the financial area. Okay, so this is big for me because I used to have old beliefs and old stories. Hands up if you have old beliefs or old stories that are limiting or that hinder you from achieving what it is that you want. Hands up so I can see them. Okay, I see one guy in front of me. I used to have a story that money was complex, that investing was hard, that I was terrible at math, that I didn't understand it, and that I could never be good at it. Those were my stories. Those were my beliefs for decades. I was always just like, oh, like, I don't know how to do that. This is too complex. I can't do it. And part of taking full and personal responsibility over every aspect of my life, which is the most empowering decision that you can make, part of me doing that realized that, like, okay, what I need to change here is I need to change the story I'm telling myself about finances. Where it used to be like, oh, it's difficult and I don't understand and this is too complex. Change that to a story of, okay, I am an educated, intelligent entrepreneur who is able to invest his money successfully. And that's my new story, and that's who I am. That's my self-image. That's who I am. So I created that story. At the beginning, was there any evidence or proof of it? No, there wasn't. So what was step 2? Reading books and watching videos. It's so simple and basic. And I have to have read over 20 personal finance books or financial management books. And a lot of the channels that I subscribe to on YouTube are just people talking about financing and investing and personal wealth and how to grow your personal wealth and how to do all of these things. And in the future, I am going to record an episode and talk about how I went from not knowing anything to understanding how it works in the most basic and simple way. And all I can tell you is that it's not complicated and it's not difficult. And it wasn't complicated and it wasn't difficult because I'm an intelligent, hardworking, educated entrepreneur who can successfully grow and manage wealth in his business. So because my story allowed me to become a different person, and coupled with my commitment and mentality and attitude to study and to learn, that's what has taken me to the position where I always hit my financial goals. I haven't been stressed financially for years now. Like it's been years where it's been like, oh snap, I have to pay this thing, or I can't do this thing that I want because I don't have enough money. And it's like, there's even a part of me that's uncomfortable saying that out loud, but I'm also really, really proud that that's where I am. And I know that I'm only there because I made the effort to study and to learn, and that I changed my own self-image about my relationship with money. So I just want everyone to know out there that it's not too late. It's never, ever too late. There's a 30 Rock episode that's called, oh, it's such a good title for an episode. Frank and Pete start a band, and I think the name of the episode is It's Never Too Late for Now. I love it. So brilliant. But it's never too late for now. And with the resources we have available, if you want copies of books, let me know. I'm happy to share with you. I've shared in previous podcast books, just going on YouTube and just like basic financial management strategies and tips. And that in conjunction with creating a new story for how I am financially and how I'm able to invest and how I'm able to organize my assets has empowered me. And that has been the single decision that I made, changing my self-image and taking full responsibility to educate myself, which has led me to this life of financial abundance. The last decision that I made, and this falls under the spiritual realm. What's the one decision that I've made that has helped me tap into my spirituality the best and the most? And the number one decision, and then it's not going to come as a surprise to anyone who knows me, but the number one answer is meditation. So meditation to me is a spiritual act. It's not a religious act, but meditation for me is an opportunity to connect with myself, connect with source energy, to quiet my mind, to feel the best version of myself, and to just remember that everything that's happening is fleeting and passing, and that there is no permanence to any of our thoughts. And that meditation is such a powerful mirror for me and with that. And I also have to say that in the spiritual realm, I'm going to talk about meditation. I'm going to talk about studying with some of my teachers, and the decision to follow certain teachers has been really pivotal and key for me. But also like not drinking alcohol and not being hungover also directly correlates with spirituality for me. Not because if I'm drunk, I'm an awesome drunk, I'm super fun, there's no question of whether or not it's more fun, but the next day it affects my meditation practice, which affects my vibration, which affects everything else that happens to me in my life and how I feel and what I'm able to create and what my point of attraction is. So the first thing has been meditation, and just like a little sub point under meditation is not drinking alcohol, which has been so helpful. But secondly, in addition with meditating, my spiritual practice is really driven by my relationship with various teachers that I have. And what's so much fun is like there's always new teachers, and the teachers are always teaching me new things, and I don't have to pay for any of the content, even though I'd be so happy to pay for the content. So as an example, I know that if I'm in a bad mood, I can listen to Esther Hicks on YouTube and I will start feeling better. Or if I'm in a really bad mood, I just won't do anything except for eat popcorn and take a nap, or just lie down, or just go swim in the pool, or finish the day. But knowing that I have Esther Hicks available has really helped me tremendously. The book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, I started with part 2 and then went to part 1. But that's a book that I can just be in whatever space I'm in and I can pick that book up and I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Bob Proctor is one of my teachers also, who I can listen to him say something and I can feel amazing. Dr. Joe is another one of my teachers that, it's obviously, when I say teacher, it's an informal relationship. They don't know me except that I've met Esther Hicks twice. Yo, what's up? 2-time that. But I just follow them on YouTube, or I listen to videos that people make of them. But that's enough for me to feel connected with source energy. And for some people, it can be Jesus, it can be Buddha, it can be Muhammad, it can be any sort of God, any connection with anything. There's no right form of connection. What matters is that you feel a connection. And so the decision that I've made on a spiritual level is one, to meditate, but then also to meditate and listen to my teachers on a daily basis. And that consistency just compounds every time. And spiritually, it places me in such an abundant and easy and loving and fun and grateful mindset that also opens up all of the doors for everything else in my life. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope the information has been helpful. Again, the idea of the episode is that there's a decision that we can make right now that will lead us down the road to what it is that we want. And I looked at 5 different areas of my life. When it came to fitness, the decision I made was to train with a trainer 5 times a week and to stop drinking alcohol. With my business, it was to buy into automations, systems, and processes. For my lifestyle, it was committing 100% to the life that I love and living a travel lifestyle and giving myself permission to do what I wanted. Financially, it was rewriting my self-image story and getting educated with basic resources. And spiritually, it's been meditating, which again, not drinking booze has affected that, but also following the teachers that resonate with me. So I hope that this information is helpful to you. I love you. I'm with you. We're in it together. And if there's one thing that you do, stay different. Let's go, let's go, let's go.